Good evening and welcome. On behalf of the Ormond Beach City Commission, my name is Bill Partington. I'm mayor of the city of Ormond Beach, and I'm happy to see so many of you have come out this evening for public safety, police, fire, and emergency preparedness. One of the core functions of government, and we have a great public safety department in Ormond Beach. Chief Godfrey was promoted from within to be chief of the Ormond Beach Police Department. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of him and all he does for our community. Chief Severs was down at a board of directors meeting in Palm Beach just late last week, and Mayor Ross from Cooper City told me, "Our loss is Ormond Beach's gain." He said, "You are so lucky to have a fantastic fire chief who is so knowledgeable." And so I'm really pleased. Joyce, great hire, and Chief, welcome. Thank you for being here. I just want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. And I'll say this, Ormond Beach is an amazing city because we have amazing residents. And the fact that you all came out to participate tonight is proof of that. So thank you and enjoy. Oh, let me introduce real quick Commissioner Rob Littleton from Zone 4 in the back. And I know Commissioner Dwight Selby from Zone 1 is with us as well. Commissioner, thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all for coming out tonight. You know, we're really moving ahead in our plan to shape the city's future. This is the fourth in a six-part series of workshops. So we've talked about community development, we've talked about transportation, we've talked about environmental and water quality, and now we're talking about public safety. As you can see, these are essential services for our city, so we want to be sure that we get all the feedback that we can on that. This civic engagement series is a lot like what we did in 2015. In 2015, we had what we called community conversations. And the community conversations, we only had 2 workshops on 2 different nights, and we had a total of about 200 people, 100 so on one night, another 100 on another night. So this time, I'm so pleased to tell you that the first 3 workshops, we've had probably 450, 500 people. 250 the first night, I think, around that. Mm-hmm. And then the second time we had 110 or so, and 100 this time. We have a little bit more, a smaller crowd tonight, but you are an interested bunch, and we're really glad to see there. And I'd like to do a shout out to the fire table over there, say thank you for coming. We appreciate that. But just like our community conversations in 2015, they were facilitated at that time, again, by the Institute of Government, like Raphael is from. Marilyn Crotty was our leader then. She was the executive director of the Institute. And she recommended that the commission come and welcome people, but not stay, so that this is an environment free of politics, so that everybody can feel free to share their opinions. As you know, every one of these sessions is videotaped, and they're online. These fish bowls that you have in front of you, we've answered, I don't know, 300 questions, and they're all online. All those answers are online. So everybody has access to that, including the commission. So I'm glad to say that we're here tonight to talk about police, fire, and emergency preparedness. The mayor introduced our chiefs, Chief Jesse Godfrey from the police department and Chief Rusty Severs from the fire department. We also have with us Captain Roos from the police department and Battalion Commander Dave King from the fire department. So if you have specific, yes, give them a shout out for that. And I hope you feel about police and fire like I do. They're an essential service for our city, and these men and women work very hard every single day, and they're sacrificing their personal safety and their time with their family to do what they do for us. So I'm very proud of everybody in this room for doing that, so thank you very much. And now I will turn it over to Raphael Montalvo. You know Raphael. He'll review the process with you tonight, and then we'll move forward. So thanks again for being here.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce. Before I go over our agenda for the evening and some of the guidelines, just a quick question. For how many of you is this your first meeting in this series? Okay, so there are a few of you. Most of you have been to at least one other. How many of you have been to all 3 of the previous meetings? Okay, it's quite a few. I'll keep the overview brief then, since most of you have been through the same process before, but I do want to touch on a few essential points. First, as Joyce said, I and my colleague Hal Beardall, whom you will see in a few minutes later in the program, are here with the Institute of Government under the auspices of something called the FCRC Consensus Center, which is an entity set up by the state legislature to help people have conversations about public policy issues, decisions that need to be made, public decisions that need to be made, and to do that as neutrals. So whenever we come in to help, we are not with one or another of the governmental entities or other parties in the room. We're there simply to help design a conversation and conduct a conversation that allows all perspectives to be heard and preserved for the record, and ideally gives you all a chance to participate as equally as the time allows. So that's our role here for tonight. You have several things at your tables that many of you may be familiar with, but not everyone. You have the sign-in card. So if you have not filled one of these out before, please do that. You'll be on the emailing list and receive updates and information about the process. You also have a card that looks like this. It says, "Have a question," with a question mark after it. Because even though this is a slightly smaller crowd, you're not that small a crowd. There's a trade-off in these meetings. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to have their questions heard and answered. We will answer as many as we can in the meeting. Those that we don't get to in the meeting will be answered online after the meeting by city staff. And the way we pick the questions to be answered is after the presentations. We'll simply go around table to table, and Hal will pick a card at random out of the fishbowl and read it out, and we'll try and get as much of an answer as we can. And if there's not an answer available in the room tonight, staff will answer it online after the meeting. They shoot for having those answers ready within 10 business days. There are sometimes unavoidable delays, but that's the goal. So, so that's a little bit of a trade-off. You won't have a chance to get up and ask your questions. You will have a chance, a sporting chance to get your question answered. We'll go around the room to every table as many times as we can. And if we don't get to your question during the meeting, it will be answered online after the meeting. There will be a table discussion part of the meeting following that. And we really hope that you actually talk to the others at your table. This is an opportunity to have a discussion with your fellow residents of Ormond Beach about these issues, we hope in a safe setting. And we are asking you, we'll give you the directions at the time, but we're asking you to answer a question at the end of that discussion and leave your answer on a Post-it on the easel pad at your table, and those will be transcribed and included in the report as well. Finally, and to get us started, you should all have at your table and at your place a polling device. And throughout the meeting, we will be periodically asking you to answer questions with these, and you'll see the results in real time up on the screen. When we ask a question, there will be a number of different answers possible on the screen. I'll go over them, and we'll ask you to press the number that corresponds to the answer you are choosing. And then press send. Once you press send, that's it. Can't change your answer. You're out of luck if you hit the wrong number. If you have not yet pressed send, you can press clear and pick a different number. So I think we're probably going to go ahead and get started with that. That's what we just did. We do like to know who's in the room. I think it helps to put the conversation in context. So we would like to know where you reside. A 1 is Ormond Beach. A 2 is Ormond by the Sea. A 3 is Holly Hill. A 4 is unincorporated Volusia. And a 5 is somewhere else. So pick your answer. You'll see the tally going up in the bottom left. We'll take a little longer for the first question, but pick your answer and hit send, or it won't register. I know we have a few more people in the room, so if you haven't already, going once, going twice. Okay, here we go. Let's see what okay, this is very consistent with what we've had in other meetings. 82% of you are from Ormond Beach. 2% are from Ormond by the Sea. No one from Holly Hill tonight. 9% from unincorporated Volusia, and 7% from somewhere else. The next question, what do you feel is your strongest connection to Ormond Beach? You may well have more than one of these, but we want to know what your strongest connection is. 1, as a resident, 2, as a business owner, 3, you work in the city, or something else. So pick your answer and hit send. Okay, pick your answer. Any of those answers is fine. So here we go, going once, going twice. Okay, so 79% of you feel your strongest connection to the city is as a resident, 8% as a business owner, 10% of you work in the city. That's a little higher than in previous meetings, and that makes sense, I think. And 4% have some other connection to the meeting, or to the city, I should say. So that's all we want to ask you at the moment. We will be asking you questions periodically, both the presenters and your facilitators will. Hal, anything else before we? Nope? Okay, so I'm going to ask Chief Godfrey, are you leading off? Okay, so I will, oh, I'm sorry, one more question before, while he's getting his materials. How long have you had your connection to Ormond Beach? 5 years or less? 2 is 6 to 10 years, 3 is 11 to 15, 4 is 16 to 20, and 5 is more than 20 years. So choose your answer, hit send, and we'll see what the result is. We have had a couple of people over these meetings with connections of more than 70 years. So, okay, so let's see. 55% of you, more than half, have had whatever your connection is to the city for more than 20 years. Another 8% for 16 to 20, 15% for 11 to 15 years, 4% for 6 to 10, and 19% of you for 5 years or less. So 78% of you have had a connection to this city for 11 or more years. So, Chief, apologize for the delay. Here you go.
No problem. Thank you, Raphael. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chief Jesse Godfrey. If you're one of the 82% that live in the city, I'm your chief. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here tonight. We're just going to go over a few things about our department, give you a little overview of what happens and what we do and why we do it.
And I apologize. Again, if you have questions about what the chief is covering, write them on the cards as he goes through so you don't forget them. That's it. Promise.
Okay. I was wondering what that little chair in the corner was for. Now I know. Thank you. First thing I want to go over is our mission statement. Basically, this is our guiding document. Aside from state laws, federal laws, and the city of Ormond Beach's ordinances, this is what our officers and employees try to guide themselves by. For those of you in the room further in the back, I'll read it to you. To enhance the quality of life in our community and protect our citizens from crime through the provision of effective, efficient, and responsive police services. Our direction as an agency will be determined in large measure through input from the community we serve. Our actions will be guided by principles of courtesy, respect for the rights of others, and diligence in performance of our duties. This is a polling question. How many times in the past 12 months have you called for assistance from the police department? First response would be 0. Second would be 1 to 3 times. Third would be 4 to 6 times. And fourth would be 7 or more times. Does anybody need me to read those responses back again? All right. And the winner is, well, I can't see that. What is that? 79% said 0? 73. Thank you very much. 18% were between the 1 and 2 range. Interesting. Thank you. And 4% and 4%. Your police department is accredited. We're accredited through the Commission for Law Enforcement Accreditation, and we are up for reaccreditation in 2020. Staffing. We have 71 sworn officer positions. 50 of those officers are assigned to one of 4 patrol squads. Those patrol squads are Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, and they work 12-hour shifts. 9 officers are assigned to the Criminal Investigations Unit. 5 officers are assigned to the Traffic Unit. 4 officers are assigned to Staff, and 3 officers are assigned to Outreach. Statistical information for 2017. We responded to over 71,000 calls for service, completed over 9,800 incident/crime reports, and issued over 7,600 traffic citations or warnings. We have 3 main divisions in our police department. We have the Operations Division, which is mostly patrol and investigations. We have support, and we have neighborhood improvement. And now, like any good leader, I'm going to develop my subordinates. I'm going to have Captain Chris Roos come up here. He's going to talk to you about the Sports Services Division and many more parts of the department. Captain Roos.
So my mic was on, but I guess it was. So sorry about that. So we'll start with Support Services Division. People ask, what is Support Services? Well, Support Services is basically pretty much anything that has non-responding police officers to it. It's the Records Division, it's the Evidence Division, Community Service, Training, Accreditation, and Outreach. One of our pride and joys in Ormond Beach is our Outreach Division. It consists of numerous things, but some of the things that it has is the Police Athletic League. Most people know what PAL is, but our PAL is a little bit different than everybody else in the area. We actually do more than just athletics. We do arts. Our coordinator's great. She does some science stuff, and they get the kids involved in everything. Even the kids that aren't athletic still participate in the PAL program here in Ormond Beach. We have a school resource officer program. We realized a couple years back that the schools and their kids were important to us. Unlike the Guardians, which just started this year, our school resource officer has been in the school for over 1.5 years now. We decided a little while back that this was important to us, so we developed a program. We got some grant funding, and we have a school resource officer in Ormond Beach Middle School. We do DARE, which is the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program. We're one of 2 cities in Volusia County that still do this program. We do it for all of our public schools, and we also, if our private schools ask, we'll do it for them as well. So we do it for public and private schools. And crime prevention. Our crime prevention unit will come out. You call us and say, hey, I'd like a survey done at my house or my property to see if it's safe, and we'll come out and we'll do a survey, and we'll let you know where you need some lighting, what you need to do here. For our businesses, we'll tell them you need to turn off your hose sprockets, you need to turn off your outside electricity, whatever else needs to be done to make your property safe. Some of our outreach programs that we're really excited for and really like a lot, one of them is our Coffee with a Cop. We do this throughout the city, throughout the year. I feel like I'm only talking to this side. We do it throughout the year. We go to different areas in the city. Basically, the only requirement for a business to become a member of Coffee with a Cop is they have to serve coffee, and they have to be willing to give it to the people that come in to talk to us that day. We did one a couple weeks ago at Country Kitchen, and we got one coming up at Starbucks on the beach side coming up in October 3rd. So it's a great program. You can get to come out, talk to us, ask us questions, and just talk if you want. National Night Out. This is the event, happens every August, the first week in August. It's a national event that we participate in. We do it at the Nova Rec Center there at the park, and it's basically just to have the community come out and interact with us. We want to show you what we do. We want to have a good time, let you know that we're human, and come out and enjoy the festivities. It's a great family event. One of the other events we do is a shop with a cop. This was new to me when I got to Ormond. Our outreach reached out to Walmart, said, hey, we have some kids in the city that don't get Christmas. We had the schools identify some kids that needed help, whose families didn't have a lot, and Walmart donated the money for these kids so they could go on a shopping spree for Christmas. The really cool thing about it is these kids didn't buy things for themselves. They bought things for their siblings, they bought things for their families, for their moms and dads. It was really touching. It was amazing to watch these kids that you just don't realize, they don't have anything, but they're still buying for someone else. So that's a program we started, we're going to continue with. Our Citizens Police Academy, we've been doing this for over 10 years. I believe it's our 11th year. Unfortunately for you guys, we just started it on Tuesday. So you'll have to wait till March if you're interested, but it's a great program. It lets you get involved with us. We bring you into the police department. It's 5 weeks. It's once a week, and we show you what we do. You get to interact with us. You get to watch what we do. And we try to give you an inside look of how the police department operates. So it's a neat program. And something we started last year was the 5-0 Club. We realized at some point we had DARE for the elementary school. PAL programs kind of help the older kids, but we were missing the middle school kids. We were missing that 12 through 14 age group, and we were losing a lot of kids. So we said, how do we get into the middle school and help these kids? So we developed this 5-0 program. Our outreach department did, our outreach coordinators, and it's great. We reached out to the school. They were all for it. So we go into the school, into the middle school. We have guest speakers come in. Usually they're community members that they would recognize. I think we had someone from the Daytona Tortugas last year. And they come in and they talk to the kids about their life, what they did, and how they made it, so that these kids have something to look up to. They're good role models in that program. This slide, I know it's hard to see. This is our outreach doesn't just do those events. They do events all year round. So there were so many of them, I can only touch a couple of them, but I just want you guys to know that they do things all year round. I mean, they just do all kinds of stuff. Our community service officers, these are our non-sworn that help every day. They're also our animal control officers. They handle all the animal complaints in the city. They do lost and found animals. They do animal bites. They do nuisance animals. But they also do some code violations, and they actually help us with some police-related calls for service. If you ever go to a crash and you see the guy in the pickup truck parked behind the scene, it's one of our CSOs. They're non-sworn. They don't carry a gun, but they're very helpful. If we get like a found property report, someone turns in a wallet and they're not busy, they'll go pick that up and take that call too. So they're a great asset to us, and we're glad to have them. One of the other things we have is neighborhood improvement. We call it NID, commonly referred to in other parts of the world as code enforcement. So their responsibility, basically land development code and our code of ordinances. Part of the land development code is they enforce land use, construction without a permit, tree removal for single family properties only, parking, accessory uses and structures, home-based businesses, and signage. They also enforce the code of ordinances to include site maintenance. They enforce abandoned motor vehicles, abandoned property, real property, waste containers, temporary covers for protection of structures, and the noise ordinance. If you're wondering how you report a crime or an incident to NID, you can do it by walking in and talking to somebody. You can call on the phone. You can send them an email. You can write a letter. You can go to the city's webpage. Just remember, if you provide your contact information, it becomes part of the public record. So if you want to remain anonymous, make sure you just don't give us your information. But we'll investigate every complaint. If you don't give us your name, we don't care. We're still going to go look at it. So I think our next question is a polling question. So which code enforcement area, if any, is of greatest concern in your neighborhood? Is it 1, overgrown landscaping, 2, outdoor storage, 3, long-term storage of RVs, 4, automobiles parked on the front yard, 5, short-term rentals, 6, other, or 7, none? We like 7s. Going once? Wow, you guys actually listened. It looks like 32% of you don't have really any concerns in your neighborhood. 4 is the highest one, which is automobiles parked in the front yard, with 21%. And then at 13, you have other. And then at 11%, you have overgrown landscaping. And so we're spread out a little bit there. There's nothing really overwhelming in any one category, so that's good. We talked a little bit about support services. We're talking about operations. Operations is 3 departments. It's patrol, criminal investigations, which is the detective division or unit, and traffic. Our patrol is broken into 4 shifts, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. They work 4 shifts. It's days and nights, 12-hour shifts. So we get coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One of the things we do in the police department is called Crime View. I'll just read this to you real quick. It's accurate, timely intelligence, effective tactics, rapid deployment, relentless follow-up and assessment. But that doesn't tell you exactly what it is. What Crime View is every 2 weeks we get together. We bring people in from pretty much every shift on the road, detectives, neighborhood improvement, our community service officers, our outreach, our volunteers, our victim advocate. Records can come. Records has a representative there. We invite Holly Hill, we invite the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, we have Department of Juvenile Justice there, the state attorney sends a representative, and we sit down and we go over each case that comes through the city that week, that 2-week period. This slide is an example of one of this is an actual slide from the presentation, so it basically tells us the case number, where it happened, when it happened, and what it was. And then we get a short synopsis of what's going on with that case. In this particular case, it's Corporal DeLong's case. He would actually tell us what's going on. So he would go, yeah, I spoke with the victim, I got fingerprints, they're at the tech services, or we got some DNA, or whatever we're doing for the case. And we do that for every case for our Part 1 crimes. It helps us to understand, because someone from the night shift might have information that the day shift didn't know. So we mix that information so we get the whole picture. You know, he says, hey, I'm working this burglary. They go, I didn't know you guys had a burglary. I stopped Joey down there the other day. So it helps us solve cases. We had a case recently where we had a gentleman that was, we say breaking into cars, but what he was doing is he was using a drill and a gas can. He was drilling a hole in the gas tank and draining the gas out. Well, we couldn't figure out what was going on. We knew it was happening. It was spread out. And we were at our wits' end. We're like, there's no rhyme or reason. The days, times, they just don't match. During one of these Crime View meetings, our neighborhood improvement supervisor came in and said, hey, I'm working a case on a house, an abandoned structure, a nuisance house. They don't have any electricity, and all they run is generators all day. None of them have jobs. We were able to put 1 and 1 together. We were able to figure out that was 2. And we've been able to identify a subject that we think is doing the crimes, and we're working on building a case against him at this point. So hopefully within the next little bit, he's stopped. We've confronted him, and the crimes have stopped. So we think we know who our guy is, and hopefully we'll have some charges soon. We're working with the state attorney's office to make sure we have enough probable cause to get it done right. This is another slide from our actual Crime View. This talks about where the crimes are occurring. So if you see here, OB 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, those are our zones in the city. And then these 2 crimes here are car breaks are the blue lines and stolen vehicles are the red lines. So during this 2-week period, we had 15 car breaks and 5 stolen vehicles. And you can see where they're spread out. So in this particular week, 4 and 6 were the losers, not the winners. In case you don't know where you live, basically 1 and 2 are on the beach side, 3, 4, and 6 are in the center of the city, and then Region 7, Zone 7's up here in the west side of the city. Another person that comes to our Crime View is our victim advocate. Our victim advocate is wonderful. She does more than just help victims, although she advocates for them. She'll drive them to court cases if she needs to. She'll take them to good injunctions. She'll fill out the paperwork. She does victims compensation. She is just all around. I don't know how she gets it all done in her 40-hour work week. But during Crime View, she provides this slide for us. And it basically tells us every victim that we had in the city that week. I blacked out the victims just so they were confidential, but you probably can't see over here, but this line here where it says history or notes, this tells us a little bit of something about the suspect in the case. In this particular case, it says 25MM/1 felony. That means that subject's been arrested or charged with 25 misdemeanors and 1 felony. Doesn't mean he's been convicted of them. He might not have any convictions, but it helps us understand that, hey, this is a person we need to be looking at in our city. If they have 25 misdemeanor crimes, maybe we need to be looking at that person. So it helps us concentrate where our resources go. So we do location, people, and times of day. And we're going to sit down because this is my favorite slide. Actually, it took me just as long to make this as the rest of the presentation. So we're going to talk about traffic. Again, this is taken right from our crime view. So this is a map of the city, and this was a 2-week period, and you can see some dots throughout the city. These dots are where crashes occurred. The little dots usually have less crashes, that's a 1 or a 2, and the bigger dots have more crashes. That's 40 in Williamson, so that would be a 19 in that area. So we get this map, and you look at it and you go, well, how's that help you? Well, that one really doesn't, but what we do is we break it down then. And we break down each intersection so we can see where the crashes are occurring. So here at 95 and State Road 40, you can see all these green dots are crashes without injuries. The blue ones are crashes with possible injuries or injuries. And you can see some of the crashes are at the intersection. Some are down here. Up here, you got this one here. That's in Walmart's parking lot. So it lets us know where the crashes actually are in the intersection. We can look at these, and to me, anything from here back, that's a little rear-end crash. That's someone not paying attention. That's a distracted driver rear-ending somebody. And we break down pretty much all of our major intersections so we can see it. And just this slide was expanded. That's why they look different. They're supposed to be circles as well. So we use that data, as well as this screen, which tells us where dates and times where our crashes occurred. In this particular reporting period, Friday was our big day. And between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. is when most of our crashes happened. Not a real big surprise in the afternoon. Friday that week, that was different. But it lets us know what day and time we have people on the road and where the crashes are happening. That allows us to know where to take our resources and where to put them. We also do a selective traffic enforcement program. We direct this towards violations that result in traffic crashes and/or citizen complaints. We use traffic crash analysis to determine where we're going to do this. A lot of times we emphasize quality over quantity. We don't want 100 stops. We want to stop the 5 or 10 people who are actually causing the problems. Sometimes we just do it for awareness and education. We're not always out there writing tickets. And what we concentrate on is aggressive and distracted driving, because we've realized that that's what causes most of our crashes. And just so you know what a step really is, it's when we put the police officer out there at the intersection or at the corner and you see him standing on the side of the road, he's doing a step. He's there for an hour, just doing nothing but traffic. Do a little crime statistics here. This chart is for 2016, 17, and 18. I only did the first 6 months of the year because we didn't have a full year for 2018, so I didn't want to skew the numbers and make it look like we were doing really, really good this year. So for the first 6 months of the year, you can see our burglaries from 2016 dropped. Our burglaries of business are rated about the same. Our car breaks are dropping. Our auto thefts, unfortunately, are up a little bit, but even our assaults and batteries are down. So our crimes are trending downward. We like to think that's because of what we do and how we do it. Some of our violent crimes, homicide, arson, armed robbery, home invasion, carjacking, as you can see, we've gone 3 years for the first half of the year without one of those. So we're doing pretty good as far as the violent crimes. We don't have a lot. Even if you look at this purple line here, you go, wow, that's pretty high. Well, it's only 13. So for a 6 month period, 13. But as you can see, again, they're all trending downward as well. We get that information from the Uniform Crime Reporting, or known as UCR in our world. It's published by the FBI. It's a nationwide program where they compile official data for all crimes in the United States. They don't track everything, but they track what they call Part 1 crimes. We're one of 18,000 agencies that submit to it. And Part 1 crimes include robbery, burglary, aggravated assault, murder or manslaughter, larceny and theft, motor vehicle theft, and rape. When you see where I have the two combined, it's because that's one thing for the UCR stats. Some states call it larceny, some call it theft, so they just combine them. So in 2017, our UCR Reported crimes were down 12.7% compared to 2016, so we're doing a good job of reducing our crimes. And then our clearance rate is 32.6%. The county average clearance rate was 29.7, I believe. So we're about 3 points higher than the county. And I don't know that we'll ever clear 100% of crimes, but at this point, 32 is a pretty good number in the police world. All right, we got another polling question for you guys. So do you lock your car at night? 1 is always, 2 is most of the time, 3 is rarely, 4 is never, and 5 is I'm not sure. The reason we ask this question is because our biggest crime in the city is car burglaries and car thefts. And I think the next couple of slides are going to make you realize that, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to let you answer it, though.
You didn't mention anything about garage cars. I never lock my car, but it's always in the garage.
I'll touch on it. I'll touch on it. Do you lock your garage at least?
I lock the garage.
All right, then your cars will be locked up. All right, so what do we think? So 75% of you say you always lock your car. That's a good number. We like that. So the next question for you, since you all lock your cars, what percent of burglarized cars in Ormond Beach in 2018 were unlocked year to date? So do you think it's 0 to 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, or 76 to 100? And while you guys are voting, I'll just touch on your comment. We had a guy who left his cars in the garage, and he left them unlocked, and he left the keys inside the house, right inside the door. He forgot to shut his garage door one night. When he woke up, both his cars were gone. We've also had incidents where they left a car unlocked in the driveway, they opened the door, got the garage door open, or opened it up and took the cars from the garage. So, all right, so 50% of you think it's 76 to 100%. You guys are pretty smart. It's 81%. 81% of the cars that are burglarized in the city have no signs of forced entry and were left unlocked. So from January 1st, 2018 through May 15, 2018, I ran some stats, and we had 54 cars that were stolen from the city of New Smyrna Beach, from residents or visitors. 91% of those cars had keys inside the vehicle. Now, it could have been in the car next to them, but for some reason, husbands like to leave their car unlocked with the keys to the wife's car in the car, so when they open the car to burglarize out, when they find the keys, they hit the unlock button and they go, oh, look, it's that one. And then they drive away in that car. Or they open that glove box and find the keys to the other car and they drive away both. So, one of the things we do here in the city is we do our 9 p.m. routine. Just a show of hands, anybody know what the 9 p.m. routine is? All right, so the rest of you got to get up to speed. The 9 p.m. routine is every night or 350 nights a year. At 9 o'clock, I'll post, hey, it's time to do your 9 p.m. routine. 9 p.m. routine means go outside, check your car, lock it, make sure everything's locked up. It works. You lock your car, they don't take it. You lock your car, they don't burglarize it. They just go to the next house in the street. So we post, like I said, most nights at 9 o'clock to remind you to lock your cars. And we also use the city's Facebook page, the police department's Facebook page, just to pass out information throughout the week on what we're doing, any kind of events we're having and stuff like that. So if you're on Facebook and you're not following the police department, I ask that you do. I think we put out some really good, useful information. There's my contact information. If you guys want to take a picture of it or write it down, if you have any questions, comments, anything you need answered during the week, feel free to contact me either by phone or email, and I'll be glad to get back with you. I'll leave that up there. Chief Rusty Severs is next, and we'll get too close because of the mics.
Thanks.
Before you forget them, and the presentations will be up on the website, so you can find Captain Ruth's contact information and all the presenters' contact information.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I'm live. Very nice. You know, I asked if I could go ahead of police, but then they carry guns, so I'm going to be second here. So thanks for that. Third. Thank you. All right, let me start. Again, I'm Rusty Severs. I'm your new fire chief. I've been here just about a month in Ormond Beach, so I'm really glad to be here. I learned a lot by putting all this together. I can tell you it was like a crash course in fire rescue in Ormond Beach, so I really kind of appreciate that. It really helped me. I might be new to Ormond Beach, but I'm actually not new to fire rescue services. So I've been doing this for over 40 years, so I think I can bring something, and it's really been a great oversight for me to kind of really deal in and see exactly where we are. So let's go ahead and start. Let's talk about our mission statement, because we do have a mission statement here in Ormond Beach, and it's to improve the quality of life by preserving life, property, and the environment through the use of education, technology, enforcement, and prevention methodologies involving the community, neighbors, visitors, and ourselves. So really that's our mission. That's what we want to do, and that's really what this is all about, part of what we're doing today. I think we're going to jump right into a poll question, so grab your little clickers. How many times have you called for assistance from the fire rescue services? Again, number 1 is never, or 0. 2 is 1 to 3. 3 is 4 to 6. And 4 is 7+ times. Hopefully it's not that. We'll see how we go. I can see it coming in. Hopefully you never have to use our service, but if you do, obviously we want to know that. All right, you think we're done? Oh, we're still coming. Everybody voted? Ready? Good. There we go. All right. No, most never. 74% say never. Okay, so we have a few. We have 19% that says 1 to 3. Looks like 6% to 4 to 6. All right, and that's it. Okay, that's about what kind of where I thought we were. Let's start and jump in and talk a little bit about the services that we provide here. We do, obviously, fire suppression is one of the biggest things that we do. And I'm going to touch base on each one of these a little bit later. Advanced life support, emergency medical services. As you all know, all of our suppression units are advanced life support units with firefighter, paramedics, and EMTs on them. Vehicle extrication is one thing we do. Technical rescue is something else we do. Hazardous materials mitigation and emergency management. So those are really the categories. So let's go ahead and jump in a little bit to where we are located. If you're not sure, there's 4 fire stations within the city limits of Ormond Beach. Okay, one on the beach side, and that's Atlantic Avenue. We have one on Wilmont, which is right off US 1, one off Nova Road, and one off Airport Road. So one is probably close to your neighborhood. You should be familiar with that, and you can see geographically where they're located on the map. So you can probably pick out the closest station to you. Obviously, that's how we deliver service in Ormond Beach. Let's talk a little bit about the staffing. How are we staffed out there? Well, we have 45 personnel on operational shifts. That's the people that actually run the calls. These people right over here, which I want to thank them before I go too far. These are the people that actually run the calls. I do I do the paper. So you can thank them. That's great. Well, there's 45 of those people on shift, and it's broken out to 28 firefighter paramedics, 17 firefighter EMTs, and then administrative personnel. Obviously, it's me, and I have an administrative assistant, and that composes our entire department. I wanted to touch a little bit on community outreach and kind of what we offer there. A lot of people sometimes don't realize what we offer to the community. CPR and AED training is out there, and again, what AED is automatic external defibrillators. You know, you see them in most of the city buildings and a lot of businesses too, those defibrillators that start your heart. So it's really good if you know CPR and AED. Anybody can use an AED. It's very, very easy, and it could definitely save a life. So I'd encourage that. Actually, there's a class coming up. It's on the website now. I don't have the date right in my head, and I apologize for that, but it's coming up. Smoke alarm checks. If there's something wrong with your smoke alarm, it's not working, please call us. We want those to work. We have a babysitting and first aid course, which also includes CPR for our young adults. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because that's a really kind of special program in a few slides. We have in-service fire inspection and pre-plan. That's something we're out there to make sure that those buildings are fire safe. Fire hydrant maintenance, that's completed by our department, and also fire explorer post. And that's going to be the next slide. I really want to touch on that. And that's pretty unique, and that's why I kind of pulled out a few of these slides we're going to talk about. The Fire Explorer Post 480, these are our kids right here from Ormond Beach. These are our young adults that are between the age 14 to 17 that we're opening up a career in fire service, looking at that. We're trying to really recruit from within, trying to get them interested in a fire service career. So it's all about recruitment and retention also, and getting our local folks trained up. And there's also a scholarship opportunity. I've been working with the Daytona State College, and also to have some of their riders from their students that are going through EMT and paramedic program riding on our units with our people, so they can also lend a hand and we can also teach them. And also for that, I wanted to get a scholarship for our Explorer group. So we can, some of those needy kids that can go through EMT or paramedic school at the college for free. I think that's just a great service, and it's a great thing to do for our community. I wanted to highlight that. Some of the other training that they do, obviously we do fire rescue training and also medical skills. So they really learn about what it is to be a firefighter in today's fire service community. And again, the child and babysitting programs, I think that's really unique. That's the first time I've ever seen it actually in my 40 years, and I'm glad that we do it here in Ormond Beach. It's wonderful. It really gives an opportunity. You're teaching a skill, obviously, babysitting, so they can be out there be a qualified babysitter for these kids. They know CPR and AED training. That's wonderful. But what it's also doing, it's opening up these young girls' eyes to a career in fire service. And I think that's really important. I think it's something that we really haven't done very well in the past. And I'm very proud of, and again, some of the firefighters, women that are sitting here today too, teach that program to our young girls. So I think that's just wonderful. I think that's an amazing program, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. The next class is November 10th though, from 9 to 2. So please sign up. All that's on the website. I think it's an exciting time. Other public education that we do, again, at the elementary school level, always we're doing fire safety. We'll come to those schools and try to teach that. And again, it's another way to interact with our young adults. Fire extinguishing demonstrations, again, that's for businesses or your homeowner group. And I find that a lot of times, this is the first time people have ever picked up a fire extinguisher or even know how to use it or pull the pin and squeeze the trigger. It's amazing, because what you don't want the first time is when you really need it. So it's good to get that training. Let's talk a little bit about emergency incidents, though. Let's talk about where we are, and I wanted to go ahead and pull this date range, and we did a full calendar year from January 2017 to December. I'm going to use that as my database. Our fire-related incidents, and again, that's any time that a fire suppression unit went out for a call, was 3,369. I pulled out the emergency medical calls. Obviously, that's a big portion of what we do. Remember, those units are advanced life support units. Every fire truck, because I get that a lot of times. Why did the fire truck come? Because there's paramedics on there. We're going to treat you, and we're going to take care of the people. That's a big portion of our calls. Almost 5,000 medical calls last year, for a total of 8,340 calls. And I'm going to break these down a little bit as we go. Let's look at that. Let's look at the last. I'm going to stand this side too, if I could. Last 2016, 17, and I did 9 months of 18 current date. And if you can look at those fire-related calls, where are we at? Typically, the fire-related calls, again, around 3.3 or so thousand is what we're typically doing. It looks like in 2018, we're actually trending a little bit higher there. If you look at that green line, as you can see, 2000, if you can't read that, 2016 is blue. Purple is 2017, and then the green line is 2018. So that's 9 months of it. So we're trending a little bit higher in the fire-related calls, and we're doing the same thing on EMS calls, if you see that. Again, I told you it's about 5,000 EMS calls we run a year, trending a little bit higher, as you can see the overalls. Oops, I think we have another question. How often do you change the battery in your smoke alarms? I'm sure everybody's going to get this right. You didn't know there was going to be a test here. Number 1 is every 6 months. Number 2 is every year. Number 3 is when it chirps. Or 4 is never. I don't want to see any 4s.
What if it's hardwired?
No, that's a good question. As you're talking about, if it's hard, it should be, in today's code, it should be hardwired and battery backup, though, because your power could go out. So you still have to change that battery, even if it's hardwired. Now, some of the older units, it's not required. If it's just battery. I think we're good. Looks like we got 57. Oops. Oh, it looks like when it chirps is the winner. Oh boy. All right. I'm learning about you guys. Okay, we got 21% every 6 months. I like that. That's really the answer. It should be every 6 months. When you change your clocks, you should change your batteries. You should really do that regularly. And I'll tell you a little hint, what I do too. I mean, I'm just a fanatic about it. I change that. And I also change my garage door opener so it works too, the battery in there. at the same time. It's just a good way to think about it. Now, they do sell batteries that last 10 years. They do. You can get them today. So that's the other option, too, that you can get those 10-year batteries. You just have to make sure that it's a 10-year lithium battery. But very good. We have another test question. Do you have a working, and that's the key word, do you have a working fire extinguisher in your home? And the answer, number 1 is yes. Number 2 is no. Number 3 is not sure. That light's coming. All right, we're getting there. Let's see what the tally is. All right, let's see what the answers are. All right, it looks like, oh yes, that's very good. It looks like 64% have a working fire extinguisher. I love that. So 27 say no. All right, you got to work on it. And some are not sure. You really should. You can go purchase them anywhere, you know, at Lowe's, at any place like that. Usually they last about 5 years. Normally, the ones that you get for your homes, they don't have gauges on them. You know, there's no way to really test them. So, you know, especially if you use it once, really discard it, throw it away, buy a new one. Don't think it's safe. And again, about every 5 years, go ahead and change that out. All right, I want to, again, we're talking about that same data range when I was talking 2017. I want to talk about fire incidents. So I kind of broke down that to some of the bigger categories. Fire incidents, we had, in that time frame, we had 129 fire incidents, related incidents. And of those, 25 were building fires. That don't mean the whole building was fire. That mean that there was a fire inside a structure that we had to respond to. I just kind of wanted to break that out. Dollars saved and dollar lost. So we're looking at that same data set. How many dollars did we save and how many dollars did we lose? If you look at the fire loss, it's roughly, and again, we'll use the purple line for 2017, there was almost $1 million, $961,000 worth of property that was estimated that we lost. But if you look at the purple line of what was the value of that property, at that point was $13,278,000. Now you can look at the value on 2016. We had about $1.8 million, or about $1.8 million loss, but the property value was over $27 million worth of property. So it all depends on where the fires are occurring. And I just think it's a great statistic, to something to look at, of what we're actually doing out there. Vehicle incidents, I know everybody, we have a lot of vehicle incidents. Well, we have major highways. Not just 40, but we also Interstate 95. You got to remember that. We cover big portion of that, so we're on there a lot. In that same date range, we had 421 vehicle accidents that we had to respond to. And again, so, some of these had medical issues. Most do, I can tell you that. Most people want to go to the hospital, or at least be treated, or need to be. And then hazardous incidents. Now, what a hazardous incident is, it could be like a spill. You know, it could be like a diesel spill, or any kind of where a hazmat response is required. And our people do that too. So we'll handle basically the smaller incidents with our local crews, our technicians. If it becomes really, really big and something wild, like a chlorine leak, something that's going to really impact us, then we have to call the regional teams from Volusia County, and they would send their hazmat team and work in conjunction with our folks. And again, we had 207 of those hazardous condition classifications in that same time period. Wildland fires, 2017 and this year, very lucky because it's been pretty wet, as you know. But that can be a real hazard. Even in 2017, we had 36 brush fires. But as you all know, if you've lived here, and I know a lot of you have lived here 20 plus years, you know the big fires that we've had here. And I remember even sending my own crews from down south to Volusia County. Definitely. We were involved in that deployment. Emergency medical, though, is probably, obviously, that's our bread and butter. That's the biggest thing we do. It's about 60% of the call volume that we run is touching a patient. And again, it could be even in a vehicle accident, or it could be at a structure fire, but there might be a patient, a medical issue needed. So at this point, we had, again, almost 5,000 in that date range, and that's about typical of what we do. Now, I can also tell you that what these incidents also mainly happen in residential homes, is where we're mostly responding to. Now, what impacts us too, though, in some of our districts, when you have those adult living facilities that pop up now all over, that definitely impacts that zone. It definitely will. But I can tell you that the majority of the calls are actually in residential right now. But those are factors that we always have to think when we're in the planning stage. Let's talk a little bit about medical transport and what happens when a medical call happens in Ormond Beach. what goes on? Well, I wanted you to know that fire rescue responds to every single medical incident in Ormond Beach. Definitely do. And again, remember, those are paramedics and EMTs on those units. That's who's coming. So we're really the first stopgap. We get dispatched by Volusia County, just like the county EVOC does too. That's the ambulance service. They get dispatched at the same time. A little bit different for us, though, is because we're stationed here, as I just showed you, in 4 locations throughout the city. So we're gonna get there first, and that's by design. That's the way it works. We will treat the patient, we'll make patient contact, we'll treat, we'll stabilize the patient, ready for transport. Now, the ambulance, again, is coming, but they're not housed here. They're not in our stations. They're usually on a street corner somewhere. They don't even have a facility. So we're sharing those same units at this time with everyone else in Volusia County. So that's how it kind of works. We do not have control over that. As you know, we're not even licensed to transport. They hold the license for that. So it's something that Volusia County, and I can tell you, I've been at the chiefs meetings, and I'm going actually one tomorrow, and this is a big topic, and we're really trying to put their feet to the fire to make sure that those transport units are available. Again, we're doing our end of it, and what we can control, and what we can control, we can always take care of. What we don't control, it's a little bit more difficult. Patient care at that point is transferred over to Volusia County EVOC, and then they transport to the hospital. Now, if needed, and if it's a serious call, our paramedics will jump on that unit and also ride into. It depends on the severity of the call. Now let's talk a little bit about emergency management. I wanted to kind of talk about the structure. If you're not familiar with it and kind of how it works, so it's going to be a couple slides on this real quick. The Emergency Operations Center that we have right here, it's at the PD. It's in their training room. That's our Emergency Operations Center. And most of the directors and the city manager, myself, and the chief, we're all going to be there, and we're going to be there for the duration of the incident, whatever it is. That's what we do. It's really to organize chaos. That's exactly what it is. We're just organizing exactly the needs of the residents and visitors of Ormond Beach for that incident, as long as it takes. And I've been there for, believe me, many of EOCs for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's just something we have to do because it's there for your protection, and it's for my protection. I live here too. Our EOC, though, interacts with the county EOC in Volusia. And so we also send representatives from the city. We have representatives that go there, and they're really our point person that we communicate with if we need other like equipment or necessities, things that we can't handle. If it gets over our head, we need assistance, we have to contact the Volusia County EOC. Now, the Volusia County then interacts at that point with the state of Florida EOC in Tallahassee. That's how it kind of works. Usually at that point, it's already a state deployed, not deployment, but I should say a designated from the governor or the president at that point, a declared storm or incident. And that's how those fundings also kick in at that point. Then the state's involved, and we can get those state resources here. And as you know, then Tallahassee, the state EOC, would be involved with FEMA. You're already, you're familiar with FEMA and how that works, and that frees up that money and those assets to come here. And then that's a national effort. And I can tell you, just like the North Carolina storm that just hit there, I mean, you can imagine, swift water rescue, the ambulances that were even sent from here, not from Volusia, but Flagler County sent some, and also South Florida. Swift water rescue teams, all that is done by that same location. So remember, locally, it's your city EOC, then it goes to Volusia County EOC, then it goes to the state EOC, and then it goes to FEMA. And the information goes up and the information comes down. So it's really controlled. Like I said, it's really controlled chaos, but that's what we're doing at our EOC each and every day. Let me talk about the statewide fire rescue assets and how that's deployed too. That's really my specialty on that side. I can tell you on what happens there because that's what gets overwhelmed. And those are like the USAR teams, this urban search and rescue you've seen, the swift water teams. Even the last hurricane, we had a deployment obviously down in Monroe County. I probably handled that from our region. We're in Region 5 right now. I was in Region 7. We sent 15 engines. We sent 10 medical rescues. We had communication units. We had one of the biggest deployments in history that I can actually remember, except Hurricane Andrew, which actually I worked Hurricane Andrew for weeks down there in Miami. That was our big event. A lot of people, or some of our new employees, weren't even born probably in hurricane, but I worked it. But again, that used to be our milestone. But that was a huge deployment that came out of Region 7 at that point. So I can tell you with confidence, I was the region coordinator for Region 7. If we had an incident here and we needed help, and we would, believe me, it's overwhelming at that point, I will make sure we get those fire rescue assets here. I can tell you that. I know how to control that. Let's talk a little bit about some hurricanes, though, because we did have, some of the big ones that we had recently is Matthew and Irma, obviously. And we just want to talk a little bit about, remember, we have the day-to-day calls that happen every single day. They don't stop, even if we have a hurricane. What happens is we did looked at a 5-year period, a 5-day period, I should say, after the hurricane passed, like in Matthew, we had 238 additional calls. Irma, we had 129 additional calls for service there, mostly power lines, fire alarm, welfare check. You can imagine how it's overpacked. So sometimes we do need those regional resources. Emergency preparedness, what can you do? What can you do today in order to be plugged in? You can sign up for the Code Red system. It's located on the website. And again, that's going to give you notifications right away, even boil water, that kind of thing, or evacuations, whatever might happen. Please get plugged into that Code Red system. Check the updates on the certain links. Remember, there's Volusia County and Ormond Beach. Links on our website, our city website, and it's going to give you a lot of information. You can also pick up sandbags. They're available from Public Works, and then again, that'll come out on the website or Code Red. But there is a limit of 10 sandbags because they're very, very heavy per vehicle. So don't forget that. I always want to stress about evacuation on beachside during a hurricane. I stress that. I wouldn't stay there. I won't be there. I'll be at the EOC. But please come join me because don't be on the beachside. It's just not safe. Remember, at certain winds, like at 45 miles an hour, we can't get over the Granada Bridge. So people aren't coming. Fire and police won't be there at a certain point. You don't want to be there either. When they say you need to evacuate or you should evacuate, again, it's not mandatory in most cases, evacuate. And also manufactured homes. If you live in a manufactured home, I recommend do not stay. How prepared, here's another test question, how prepared do you feel for an emergency? So is it number 1, very prepared, 2, somewhat prepared, 3, not at all prepared, or just not sure? Okay, it's good. We're getting quicker on the clickers. All right. Coming in there. So see how you feel. How prepared do you feel? I think we're good. That's it. All right. Oh, okay, very prepared. We feel that's pretty good. Look, is that 58%? God, it's hard for me to see. For number 1, somewhat prepared is 38. So that's pretty good. That's better than I thought. That's good. I think that's wonderful to hear. Let's look at the next test question. How informed were you during Hurricane Matthew and Irma? Number 1, very informed. Number 2, somewhat informed. Number 3, not at all informed, or just not sure on number 4. Remember, these were the following storms, Matthew and Irma. All right. Think we're good? Locked in? Oh, okay, very informed, 63%, 26% say somewhat informed, and only 11 said not informed at all. Okay, that's pretty good. We're doing a decent job. Hopefully even this presentation helps you feel a little bit more informed and at least know where to go. Wonderful. Another test question, how do you get the majority of your information during a natural disaster or emergency situation? Is it number 1, television, number 2, radio, number 3, city website, social media, number 4, internet, social media, number 5, Code Red, or other? All above. Probably, yeah. And you should always stay informed. But there's a lot of way to get information too. We just want to see so we can push out alerts and we know where our residents are looking at. I think we're locked in. Let's see. Oh, good. So television, most people get television. Looks like 62%, 17% for radio. And number 4, internet. Okay, internet and social media is coming up there. And I think a lot of people definitely is away. But there are a lot of medias out there to get it. So wonderful. Again, this is my contact information here. If you ever need me, this is fire administration. Anything I can do, anything I can help you with, any follow-up questions or any talks that you might want at your homeowners group. I appreciate your attention. And again, our motto is courage, commitment, and compassion. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Chief Sievers, Chief Godfrey, Captain Roos, thank you very much. Okay, we are about to start the question and answer session. As before, we will go table to table. Hal will go table to table and pick a card at random. So make sure your questions are in the bowl and read it out. And we have the three presenters and also Commander David King available to answer the questions or try to answer them this evening. If not, they'll be answered online. Hal.
All right, the first question. Why does our police station close at night? And on weekends, somebody said over here.
Do you need a microphone? I think we, oh, thank you. Go ahead. Okay. Mark, are we on? Here. We'll get that one up and working in a moment, but
Raphael. Well, question was, why does it close?
Yes, why does it close at night and weekend?
I think what you really want to say is, why is the lobby, the records, the front desk area closed? Is that the question? Because we never close. We're there 24/7, 365. But apparently, back in the mid-2000s, they did a study, a demand for service study, and there wasn't a need to have a night clerk at the front desk. Now, just so you know, the front desk is open, and there is a 911 phone on the wall in case it's an emergency. Okay? Thank you.
All right, the next table is, are you concerned about removal of one tree? How about hundreds of trees?
Fire Chief Sievers, you want to?
okay. I guess we're down to my. We'll address that online. It's not on topic for tonight. And we have had discussion about that in the past, I believe.
Okay, the question from this table, the future EOC, will it move west?
Well, again, that's not my decision, obviously. Would I recommend that, though? I can speak on that. I would think so. Yeah, I think it should be, obviously, an EOC should probably be further west. It'd probably be more elevated and those types of things. Obviously, a Cat 5 building, all those things are wish list, but that's really the policy decision. So right now, we work at where we have to work out of, and that's the PD right now, but good question.
Okay, the next table.
I missed the point of the last question. My
Okay.
apologies.
The next table is there a website citizens can access to monitor crime in Ormond Beach?
Yes. If you go to the city website, go to the section for residents, I believe it's crime reporting. You can go in there. It's fed from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office CAD system, and it'll give you an idea of what's going on in the city crime-wise. Or, if you don't want to go to the website, you can come to one of our quarterly Crime View meetings. It's open to the public. A few of you have been to them. They're very informative. But thank you. Good question.
The next table is, how do you deal with the homeless and panhandlers in the city?
Good, I got the easy one.
It makes it easy to pick, doesn't it?
We deal with the homeless and the panhandlers in every way we can. We get a lot of calls for homeless and panhandling. Homelessness is not a crime, though. So if they're not committing a crime, we make contact with them, we identify them, we know who they are. When they start committing crimes is when we take enforcement action. And if we know there's an issue and they're creating problems, we'll write them, the tickets for the, stepping out in traffic, the open containers, and whatever we can. But just being homeless, unfortunately, for some people, it's not a crime, and it's, we try to help them whenever we can. We offer them services when we come in contact with them, but sometimes they just don't want services. They don't want to ride somewhere else. So we do the best we can, but unfortunately, sometimes they have to want help, and they have to commit a crime for us to take any enforcement action.
Thank you. And I think we have this microphone up and running, so if you'll take it back to the presenters.
Okay, the next question is, what percentage of medical calls are residents versus non-residents?
Yeah, I'll definitely have to get back to you on that. Obviously, I don't track that personally. It's not on the top of my head. I don't even know if I even can run a query for that, so I'll have to get back. If we can get that and maybe answer that on the website.
Okay, the question from this table is, how can we find out if homeless have, I'm sorry, I'm reading the handwriting here. Homeless have pets, how can we find out if homeowners or homeless have settled on absentee owner property? Should owners not be notified?
Anytime we locate a homeless camp or somewhere where the homeless have settled, we do a property appraiser's website search. We find out who the homeowner is or the property owner, and we contact them. We let them know there's someone there. And what we ask for is for them to do a trespass affidavit to give us the authority to trespass people off the property. So we do take the enforcement action when we find them where they're at. We don't always find them right away, so we appreciate calls if you guys know where camps are. And it doesn't take but a couple of weeks where you start seeing the trash build up. So, but we do take the effort to reach out to the homeowners or residential property owners, even if they're vacant or business properties, and try to get the trespass affidavit so we can take the enforcement action and get them out of that area.
Thank you.
Question from this table is for Chief Godfrey or Captain Ross. Have you implemented civil citations for juveniles, and if so, how is that working?
We actually just changed our policy within the last 6 months. We had juvenile civil citations for at least 18 months, but we tweaked the policy here recently so to make sure that more juveniles are getting the citations. For those of you that don't know what juvenile civil citations are, it's if a person under the age of 18 commits a misdemeanor crime or a nonviolent crime, in lieu of arrest, they want you to give them a civil citation. So in lieu of going to court and having a criminal record and having to check that box that they've been arrested, they get a civil citation to do some community service, and it basically wipes it off the record. So our goal was to get 100% of the eligible youths that are eligible for the civil citation a civil citation. Some of the issues is, the person has to admit to the crime, and a lot of times they don't do that, so we can't write them a civil citation. The parents have to agree to let them participate in the program. So if the parents don't agree, we can't let them participate in the program. And the victim also has to say, so if the victim says, no, I want them to go to jail, then they go to jail. But if we're able to write a civil citation, it is our policy to work that angle. Good question.
I guess the question here from this table is, I've heard that over 80% of fire calls are medical, yet your chart didn't seem to indicate this high a level of medical versus fire.
Right, I mentioned it. No, it was more like 60% when we ran the stats for 2017, and that's our trend, 60%. A lot of departments, it is 80, 85%, but here it was 60% in that database that I gave you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure what I'm going to get from this table, but we'll ask anyway. How do you plan to fix the incredibly high turnover rate in both the police department and the fire department? I guess that's a double question.
Well, I can start with fire if you'd like. Yeah, we're looking at that right now. Again, how can we attract people? The one thing, like I talked about, the explorers again, try to get some of our homegrown talent right here. They have a vested interest. They live here in Ormond Beach. They grew up in Ormond Beach. They'd like to work and stay in Ormond Beach. I think for fire rescue, it's very difficult when you're getting people that are coming from Orlando or wherever they might be coming, or South Florida, because they all want jobs. They all want jobs, but then keeping them and having them here, because it costs a lot of money to hire someone, process them, train them, and hold on to them. So that's one thing. Again, getting students. Like I said, with our agreement with Daytona State College, again, if they go to Daytona State College, they live in the area. So it's more inclined, and if they don't know about us, how are they ever going to want to work for Ormond Beach? It's where you, and again, I was a student. When you ride on those units with those personnel, it's much easier than to feel like a hometown feeling, and then they want to work there. And again, even if they're paying maybe a little bit higher benefits or pay packages somewhere else, again, they might have more loyalty right here in Ormond Beach. So those are a couple of things that I want to institute right away. Again, we could do a lot. We could do a lot of things. We'll have those discussions with HR. How can we attract and retain people to Ormond Beach? Why do they want to come work for this fire rescue department? That's really my job, and that's what I'm going to look at for the next year. Believe me.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Also, something that's hasn't been talked about is the definition of turnover. I believe that's what you guys said. But some of the employees that leave here, they leave because they no longer want to work in the field, or they're no longer qualified to work in the field. Also, we have employees that retire. But that small group, it's usually 1 to 3 year, is where we're losing our officers. I don't know, I can't speak for fire if that's when you get your turnover in that time frame. So what we've tried to do is implement more specialized units at the agency to make it more attractive for them to say. I can tell you that locally in this area, we are right at the top of being paid. So pay is not an issue, but it's other things. If you look at other agencies, they have more specialized units. They have more opportunities to grow within the agency, and that's just something we're trying to work on as far as maybe more specialized units. Thank you.
Table up here has a question that may be related. How can Ormond Beach keep up realistically with residential growth and maintain staff levels, or a plan to increase staffing?
Do you want to? Who wants to try to answer that?
I think.
Okay.
Just to preface that, our growth rate over the last 10 years has been about 1% per year, so we're not seeing extraordinarily amounts of growth. So with that in mind, then I'll share it back to you, Chief.
Thank you. So in the police world, what we do is we do staffing studies, and we try to use the International Association of Chief of Police models to figure out how many officers you need based on calls for service and how many citizens you have and what time of day the calls are coming in and things like that. And there's formulas out there, and that's what we try to use, and I'm sure fire does the same thing based on call load and call volume. As the city manager said, we're at about 42,000, and I think we're almost fully grown out as from what I've learned from coming to these meetings, because I've been to every meeting too. And so I think we're doing adequately enough. So I don't know, Chief.
I think I said a little bit. Obviously, we do. We look at where the calls are taking place. Now we know that certain things are going to happen in the community. You know, we always again on the books is looking like Ormond Crossing is going to happen. The business park out there is happening in the industrial area. So then this is a very big city. What, almost 36 square miles? That's pretty large. So again, how are we going to be able to service, especially the north end, of US 1? As it gets more populated, as time goes on, how are we going to increase those levels? We're going to have to look at that point. I know there's plans, obviously with development agreements. So we're going to look how are we going to staff again, because our people need to be in the right place at the right time when those calls come in to keep our average response times down. And I think I wanted to mention that real quickly too, though. Our average response time for 2018, and I think it was 4 minutes. And if you want to look on the back there real quick, we're at the 5-minute mark is the average was 4:52 for 2018 for the last 9 months. But again, as the growth happens, we have to also keep up with that.
Thank you.
And the question here from the last table is, does the City of Ormond Police have any plans to add an active calls app to let citizens know if we hear sirens in that area, what's going on?
Yeah, I not that I'm aware of, but I will look into it. I know the school's doing something like that also, but we can look into it.
Okay.
And a quick reminder that if your question didn't get pulled out of the fishbowl It is going to get answered online by the city, hopefully within 10 business days. It depends on whether they can get the answer, and that's their commitment to get those answers for you.
Okay. Is there any table we did not get to? We meandered a little bit this time. Okay. All right, Hal, just a comment. The agenda says polling questions now. We don't actually have polling questions for you now. We will right before you leave. So we'll be asking you some evaluative questions about these services after the table discussions.
But we do want to give you a chance both to talk with each other, but also to get us some additional feedback. If you'll turn to page 3 of your agenda packet. Much like we did in the previous sessions, we're going to let you talk among yourselves, and I'll urge you to try and let each person take a turn, one at a time, go around your table, let everybody give you their idea, and then go around again as needed. But please, we have one question this time instead of 2, and the question we're going to ask you to discuss and answer is, how could the city improve on its delivery of public safety services, including police, fire, and emergency services? So that question, I'm going to ask you, talk about it with each other, record your ideas either on one of the pads and stick it to the sheet on your table, or if you've got one person willing to be a recorder who wants to write directly on the big sheet, you can do that too. Whether you write on this or on the sheet, please do so as legibly as possible, because I have to actually read it and type it up. But if you don't put the answer or your suggestions either on the big sheet and or on this, we don't get it. Lots of good ideas from these last couple of times. Discuss with each other, but make sure you write them down and put them on the sheet so we get them and record them for you. Any questions? All right, we're going to take about 15 minutes to 20 minutes to let you do that, and then we'll wrap up in the final 10 minutes with a couple additional polling questions.
Yeah, you were the trick.
Great job, Chief. Thank you. Very impressive. How's it feel to be done? Well prepared, and the Chief did a great job. Starting to lose people. Maybe we can. What is the star? What is this? Why are you wearing it upside down? From your, yeah, I was gonna say from your angle it's correct.
We're a hurricane.
Which one?
Down.
Your guys asked the hardest question. What are you doing about the massive retention? Like, really?
They've been kind of open door policy. It's very open.
But ours is, it's that 1 to 3 year gap where those 3 to 5 years will stay in. And
if I can have your attention, we have a couple more minutes in the table discussions. We do know that a few of you have to leave early. There is an evaluation at the back of your packet. Those have been extremely helpful to us in the past. If you do have to leave early, please fill that out and leave it at your table. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up the table discussion in a couple of minutes and then moving on to the polling.
more a year.
And he was closer to home.
And instead of 3.5 on for state retirement, which I think we can match whatever state retirement.
See, with state retirement, you go from state agency to state agency.
Right.
You don't lose anything. If you have a private pension, once you leave your state, so what they're finding out is candidates are looking for those state retirement jobs. They go, you know, I don't like it in Miami, this is Orlando, this is Lake Mary, whatever. We don't have
Sheriff's Department. I have 3 years sitting out.
We don't have that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, right. Nice to meet you. The uniform crime more engaged. That's
And fire.
Pardon me, just a quick question.
No, I don't think the slide out's in yet.
What?
I don't think that it's arrived yet.
Oh, but I mean, you're getting it.
Yeah, we are getting it. It's a nice F-250, big, good slide package. You know, they didn't want to buy it. They wanted to get a cheap one. It wouldn't serve the function. Like, you might as well not even have it.
Okay, if you would make sure your answers are in writing at your table. Take another minute to wrap that up, and then we'll start the polling.
Oh,
Okay, if I can get your attention, you can keep writing. You can actually keep writing even after the meeting's over if you would like. But let me get your attention up on the screen for a moment. We've asked this question in the past of the topics addressed in prior meetings. So we want to ask essentially the same question tonight about each of the three topics we've covered. So the first question is, how well do you think the City of Ormond Beach currently handles police services? A 1 is great. It's the best rating you can give them. A 5 is neutral, neither especially well, but not especially badly. And a 9 is terribly. So your rating essentially on police services in the City of Ormond Beach. How well do you think the City of Ormond Beach currently handles police services? Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, you can choose. It's a 1 to. Thank you. It's a 1 to 9 scale. You can choose. I highlighted the main points, but you can choose a 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. The higher the number, the worse the rating. The closer to 1, the better the rating. Okay, so we have 37 who've responded. Going. Pardon? Okay, one more. Okay. Going once. Going twice. Okay, let's see. 54% of you gave it a 1, a great rating. 12% a 2, 22% a 3, 2% a 4, 7% a 5, no 6s, 7s, or 8s, and then 2% a 9. So as we've done in the past, looking at the top 3, 1, 2s, or 3s, 88% of you gave it a 1, 2, or a 3. Okay, the same question now for fire and emergency medical services, fire and rescue services. A 1 is great, 2, 3, 4, a little bit less so. 5 is neutral, 6, 7, 8, it's worse than neutral, and 9 is terrible. How well does the city handle currently fire and rescue services? I think we got 41 on the last question, so if you haven't weighed in, please do so, and remember to hit send. Okay. Going once, going twice, and any others? Here we go. One more. We're at 39. One more? Okay. 54% of you gave it a 1, a great, for fire and rescue services. 15% a 2, 15% a 3, 5% a 4, 10% a 5, a neutral on this one, and nothing lower than a 5. So 84% of you gave it a 1, 2, or 3, and on this one, there was nothing lower than a 5. So the same question again now for emergency preparedness services. How well do you think the City of Ormond Beach currently handles emergency management, emergency preparedness? The 1 is great. Again, you can choose a 2, 3, or 4, which is a little less than great. 5 is neutral, 6, 7, 8 are worse than that, 9 is terrible. We're at 33. Anybody else going to weigh in on this one? 37. Now you are on your honor to use only one polling device. 38. 38. Going once, going twice, and here we go. Okay, on this one, there's a bit more of a spread. 37% of you gave it a 1. 16% each for a 2 or a 3, a 3% for a 4, and then a 21% for a 5. 5% 6, 3% 7, and no 8s or 9s. So nothing at the terrible end of the scale, but more of an even spread among the 1 to 5. At the same time, 68% of you still gave it a 1, 2, or 3. So it's distinctly positive, but a bit more of a range of scores on emergency preparedness. So again, you can keep writing if you need to. I'm going to turn it over to Joyce to wrap up for this evening.
Thank you, Raphael. We wanted to say again, thank you very much for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. And please, let's give another round of applause to our fire chief, our police chief, and our police captains. We had an opportunity to introduce Dave King earlier, but we did not have an opportunity to introduce our newest police captain, D.W. Smith. So D.W. is a local homegrown boy. We want to say congratulations. You have an evaluation on your table. That's very important to us. So please take a few moments to fill that out, because that lets us know how we should tweak the process going forward. Our next OBLife is on October 23rd, and that's leisure and culture. So we'll be talking about parks and recreation, probably the museum, and I'm looking to Stefan. Museum and the Historical Society will come and talk so that we can get a full perspective of what we do from a recreation, leisure, and culture. And then November 27th is economic development. And then we'll wrap up in January. So again, thank you so much for coming. Take your time finishing your surveys and writing on your big sheet, and we'll see you next month. Have a great evening.